Welcome to Red Recaps. For today's video, we'll be doing a recap of the thrilling action movie Contraband. Sit tight and relax for an exciting ride. Let's get started. The movie starts with a bunch of police surrounding a ship. Two men on the ship are seen trying to escape. One of them threw a bag into the sea as he was seen by the operatives. Now we are at a wedding, and they asked a couple if they were good at smuggling. A man named Chris was approached by a man in a suit, asking him to stick to where he's good at. The two men in the ship are now in the parking lot and met up with some bad-looking dudes, saying they threw the bags because of the police. As they teach, they are let off the hook. The bad dudes drive over their car. Of course, they're not going to let them off. Back to the wedding. Chris's wife got a call from her brother saying it was an emergency. They drove to the hospital and saw her brother. It was one of the men that got run over. He admitted to running coke for a man named Tim Briggs. He insisted he was going to get killed for dumping the drugs. As they drove back, Chris told his wife Kate he was going to take care of it. As Chris was working on a security equipment job, his friend called him, saying he had info about Tim Briggs. His friend found out his usual whereabouts. Chris instinctively went to Tim. Chris asked Tim if they could work something out to cover his brother-in-law's mistake. Tim insisted that it was a huge loss of money and that they couldn't make a deal out of it. Chris went to a support group to talk to his friend Sebastian. Sebastian told Chris it was a good time to go back to smuggling. Chris went home and saw his brother-in-law packing his bags, saying Tim was after him. Chris went off to Tim's to renegotiate. Chris told Tim that he's going to get back the money after a month. Tim wants it in 2 weeks. As Tim threatened Chris to harm his family, Chris went berserk and pointed a gun in his face, saying that he would not involve them. Chris talked to his wife about going back to smuggling to save them from Tim. He assured his wife that everything was going to be okay. Chris went to the prison and met his dad, who was an ex-smuggler. He asked for his boat. His dad lends him a boat to board. After that, he went to talk about Sebastian and how they were going to get the money. They looked around for a group to form for their smuggling run. They successfully ordered a container and said that they were going to fill it with a van, where they would put the smuggled goods. Chris went off to say goodbye to his family as he started doing the run with his brother-in-law. As they reached their rooms on the ship, Chris stripped off and revealed that he had strapped tons of money around his waist. They hid the smuggled money on the back of a fire extinguisher. As he hid the money, he went to the ship's cafeteria to meet with his team. The ship's captain got a quick look at Chris and quickly recognized him, wondering how he got on his ship. As he performed his duties as a helper, he searched for documents near the steering wheel. Chris showed his team where they would hide the smuggled counterfeit money. He revealed a hole sized up to 60 cubic feet. As his brother-in-law Andy came to check inside the hole, other crew started to show up and got stuck inside. Poor guy. The team asked Chris what's next for them, and Chris said that they were going to pick up and buy counterfeit money at the next stop in Panama, and said they would need to buy some more time. They decided to mess with the ship. Back home, Tim paid Chris's family a visit as he threatened to hurt them if Chris didn't get the money. The pressure on Chris is adding up. Kate called Chris about what happened, and he told her to call his friend Sebastian. Sebastian told his wife to stay at his place for the meantime. Back on the ship, as they were going for a stopover in Panama, the ship was failing as they messed with it, emptying its engine oils. Chris instinctively released the anchor. As he was pissed they spilled too much of the oil out of the engine. The ship hit the port and some containers went flying to the ground. That was really close. The captain checked the engine room and found out what was wrong, and he abruptly said that someone was messing with his ship. Chris, alongside one of his allies, went off the ship and met with his old colleague to buy blocks of counterfeit money. Chris checked the counterfeit money and found out that there was something wrong with them. He then poured some iodine liquid on the paper and it turned blue. He said that the paper used was not starch-free. Chris lividly refused the counterfeit money, and his colleague said that a guy named Gonzalo had the better versions of counterfeit money. Chris called his friend Sebastian, saying the money was no good. Sebastian insisted that he smuggle drugs instead, which Chris abruptly declined. His colleague warned Chris to stay away from Gonzalo, but he's already on his way. Chris is getting desperate. Back on the ship, the captain was getting suspicious of Chris as he was looking for him on the ship. Meanwhile, Sebastian paid Tim a visit, warning him not to touch Chris's family. As Sebastian enters Tim's home, it is revealed that he was Tim's partner in the smuggling, and he has partaken of. Wow! He is frustrated with Tim's hiring of Chris's brother-in-law. Back in Panama, Chris finds Gonzalo's warehouse and goes straight to it. He ordered Andy to stay in the van. He called Andy and told him he was going to kill one of Chris's sons if he didn't grab a drug package in Panama. Meanwhile, Chris met Gonzalo inside the warehouse as he checked the counterfeit money. He ordered his friend Danny to get the van as they were going to buy Gonzalo's counterfeit. He found out that Andy was already missing. As they loaded the van with counterfeits, they realized that the money was gone, making Gonzalo suspicious of Chris. Chris asked Gonzalo if his offer of Chris joining him on a smuggling run still stands. Meanwhile, on the ship, the captain ordered them to fix the ship in 10 minutes. The ship's engineer, who was Chris's ally, called him and said that they don't have much time. Chris and Danny were waiting in a van, ordered by Gonzalo. They spotted a van and were ordered to block it so Gonzalo's goons could hijack it. The security van ran over them as they blocked it, making their van flip upside down. Gonzalo and his gang hijacked the van and stole what was inside. The police and the army arrived as a shootout started. Gonzalo was the only one left as his goons were gunned down one by one. Gonzalo found and drove a pickup truck to the getaway as Danny and Chris hopped in the back. A gunshot grazed Gonzalo on the neck. Meanwhile, on the ship, Andy got back with the bag of drugs. Gonzalo, with Chris and Danny in the back, went back to the warehouse. The police were still on their tails. Gonzalo, wounded, asked them to take him to the hospital. They boarded Gonzalo in the van with the counterfeits, but a second later, he's already dead and they throw him out. Meanwhile, the ship is ready to sail off. They arrived at the port just in time as they loaded the van, with them driving in the container. As the container got boarded on the ship, they quickly transferred the money, as they knew that someone would check the van. They transferred the counterfeits to the 60 cubic feet hole Chris had dug. The captain continued to check the containers as Chris barely made it out as he was cleaning the van and the container for any evidence. The chief found nothing as they checked the container with the van. Chris got back to his room and angrily asked Andy what happened. Andy told Chris that it was Tim who threatened him with smuggling the drugs. Chris put the drugs in the hole with the counterfeits. Chris called Sebastian, telling him that he would dump the drugs. Meanwhile, Sebastian got called up by the man in the suit earlier. It is revealed that Sebastian owes him money. The man told Sebastian that he didn't have any time left, but Sebastian said he'd got smuggled goods coming in. Even Sebastian is in a tough spot. Sebastian went to a bar and met Tim. He told him to scare Kate so Chris wouldn't dump the package. Now Sebastian is betraying Chris. A desperate move. As Kate went off her shift, Tim showed up, smashing his car into her office and threatened to tell him to tell Chris not to dump it in the water. Sebastian showed up with the car and asked Kate to get in the car with him, but he was drunk. Kate declined and took the kids home. Kate phones Chris to tell him what happened, and Chris is wondering who told Tim that he was dumping the drugs. He only told Sebastian about it. The unsettled Chris asked Andy if he told Tim about dumping the drugs, which he denied. Andy told Chris that he got the drugs from a guy named Ruben. Kate went to Sebastian's house to get their stuff. Sebastian was acting weird and tried to kiss Kate. What's going on with Sebastian? As Kate fled to the other room, he threatened Sebastian that he would call Chris. Sebastian pushed the door as Kate was behind it, and Kate smashed her head. She is unconscious. The drunk Sebastian can't believe what's happening. Chris called Sebastian and told him that he knew everything and that he knew Sebastian was involved. Sebastian impulsively called the ship's captain, snitching Chris out. He told the captain that he would give Chris's share if he prevented Chris from dumping it. Wow, Sebastian's doing everything he can. This is getting suspenseful. The captain hurriedly went to Chris's cabin to check where the drugs were. Chris acted dumbfounded and didn't tell the captain where it was. The captain threatened Chris that he would call the police. Chris snuck up on the captain's room to get some keys and just barely escaped before the captain got back. Wow, that was a close call. The captain called the cops to inspect his ship based on a tip. Chris was seen duplicating the key he got from the captain's office. The cops arrived briefly on the ship. The cops searched the entire ship with canine dogs. They found the 60 cubic feet hole, but saw nothing inside. They searched the van, but it was also clear. Andy got off the ship with a bag and got chased by Tim. Meanwhile, Chris gets held off on the ship and is interrogated by the cops. After a while, Chris also got off the ship and was also welcomed by Tim. When Tim asked Chris where the dope was, Chris acted dumb. Chris lost his cool and assaulted Tim, ordering Andy to run. Tim's bodyguards pointed the guns at Chris, and Chris told them that they would not know where the drugs were if they killed him. Chris led them to the garage of a house. They opened the trunk of a car and saw a vacuum cleaner. Chris opened the vacuum cleaner and revealed that the drugs were in it. Wow! Tim checked the goods, and it's the real drugs. Chris swiftly got off, leaving Tim and his goons in the house. And what is this? The old man who owns the house woke up, and it's the captain of the ship. Cheeky Chris put the drugs in the captain's house. The police siren is heard from a distance. The police caught them red-handed, including the captain. Wow! Chris hurriedly went off to Sebastian's to see Kate, but they are not there. Sebastian is seen driving his car to dump the body of Kate. Is she dead? He is planning to bury her with cement. Chris reached Sebastian and abruptly punched him, asking where his wife was. Sebastian told him that she was dead. But Sebastian made a terrible mistake. He left Kate with her phone. And as Chris called her, her phone rang as Chris realized she was being buried. Wow! And there it is. He discovered the body of Kate in a plastic bag. Sebastian is in disbelief. They admitted her to the hospital, and thank God she is alive. She is reunited with Chris. Danny retrieved the counterfeit money as Sebastian is in prison. They sold the counterfeit money and later revealed that the thing that Gonzalo took from the van was a $20 million painting, and they used it as a sheet cover. That thing is worth way more than drugs. What a roller coaster ride. Have you enjoyed the video? Leave a comment down below if you liked the movie. If you liked this movie, you can watch it by clicking on the links below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching Red Recaps. I'll see you in the next video.